So why doesn't Gen Z ride motorcycles? Motorcycle sales have been in a steady decline for years. Is it to blame on Gen Z? Are they too weak? Are they too anything? And we're going to explore that question, and with that, welcome back to the freemilesmc. And I feel like I'm the most qualified to talk about this because I am as Gen Z as it gets, born in the amazing year 2000. It's basically numbers-wise the coolest year to be born in, and I ride motorcycles. So, what could be the reason why Gen Z is kind of staying away from bikes and why motorcycle sales are declining in general? The first reason in my head is that motorcycle culture has changed a lot and the perception of motorcycles in pop culture. We used to have completely motorcycle focused movies like Easy Rider when it comes to good movies and stuff like Man of Steel when it comes to bad movies. And some actors actually had their whole image surrounded by them riding motorcycles like Steve McQueen or people like Mickey Rourke. Wait, I already hear you guys say, wait, don't we have the bike riders today? Don't we have actors like Keanu Reeves and Norman Reedus? And yes, you're right, but the way that we consume these forms of media has changed a lot. Because nowadays we all have targeted ads and also algorithms specifically cater to each individual. So the general cultural happening of seeing a motorcycle in a movie, like seeing Tom Cruise race the fighter jet and then the next day talking to your work colleagues about it, is not a nationwide experience anymore. Instead, it's like an experience that every person has individually. So this huge trend of people who wouldn't be interested in motorbikes all of a sudden really wanting to buy a Kawasaki does not happen. Before everyone got separated into their own little bubbles, motorcycle sales actually peaked in 2006 with the big sports bike craze. Wonder why that was the case? Sadly, right after 2008 and the world financial crisis rolled around.
By full 5%. We're down over 16%.
Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
The stock market is now down 21%.
What in the world is happening on Wall Street?
And this was around the same time that people in my generation started to develop understanding of money and what it was actually worth. That was a learning that was instantly influenced by a lot of financial struggle and the feeling of financial struggle. Sadly, with the big financial crisis, also a social crisis followed along, and there was a huge divorce wave due to the financial instability. And if you've gotten a Nintendo Wii for Christmas and the Lego Indiana Jones game, it basically meant mom doesn't love dad anymore or dad fucked the au pair. It was an incredibly common experience. And in addition to that, no matter if you had 1 or 2 Christmases a year from then on, the parenting style and how parents behaved in front of their kids actually has a big influence on people then being interested in the hobby of motorcycle riding. And for context, our grandparents needed to be reminded by the TV that they even have kids.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
So as a result of that, Gen X took a very hands-on approach when it came to parenting. And of course, that approach includes protecting your kid from all kinds of dangers, which is good. Just those dangers included motorcycle riding at the very top. As a result, basically every good parenting style ended as soon as the topic of motorcycles came up, and basically no means was off limit. And I witnessed this quite a lot myself with me riding a motorcycle and then seeing the parents of the people around me react to me riding a motorbike and their kid potentially riding a motorcycle. And not gonna lie, some of the situations I've witnessed to that were pretty wild, and threats of disinheriting and physical harm are never far. To be honest, it's probably easier to get your parents excited that you're doing crack than you're getting a motorbike.
You want to cook crystal meth?
Also, this was not just a thing in my generation and Generation Z, it was also a thing already earlier. But in combination with social media, you cannot really hide anymore that you have a motorbike. Like, I know many people who are like 38, 40, who ride motorcycles and they used to hide it from their parents for like 5, 6 years. Good luck doing that today with social media's big transparency of our life. And also, it doesn't really help that a lot of people my age are not able to move out from a financial perspective yet. I think one thing that's really important to mention when talking about parenting, motorcycles, and also like intergenerational interaction is that motorcycles have a big rebel image of an alternative lifestyle, being the big bad biker enjoying freedom on the open road. Only problem is, like, how are you supposed to rebel if your dad's favorite music genre is grunge and grew up listening to Nirvana? Not with a motorcycle, I'll tell you that. Gen Z's teen spirit more smelled like smart casual wear, voting conservative, a huge interest into day trading, and thinking to yourself, oh no, it's not me not getting laid, it's me having superior values in modern society or some shit like that. Of course, all these factors are enhanced by maybe the biggest factor of them all, the dire financial situation of all people in general, and that especially hits young people as they're still entering the workforce and getting started in life. The purchasing power today is a lot smaller than it was 20 years ago, not even thinking of 40 to 60 years ago. The prices of motorcycles were lower back then. They're now quite a lot higher, and also the whole cost of living, also cost of stuff potentially buying a house has skyrocketed. I think in the US it used to be 3 times the annual income about 20 years ago, and now it's 7 times. And in Europe the situation is similar, in some parts worse, in some parts better. Also, the point of entry into the hobby of motorcycle riding has gotten a lot more difficult. First of all, licensing laws have complicated a lot in recent time, and I mean, for once that's a good thing, because motorcycles are actually quite dangerous and it leaves a good way into motorcycle riding that's safe. But at the other time, of course, less people pick it up. I know old people that don't know how they got a motorcycle license, and some of my parents' generation have gotten a motorcycle license for very little money with very little effort, and basically don't feel confident riding a motorcycle even from the little training they have gotten on the machine. Another big one is the increased price of licenses. This is a thing everywhere in the world. In some countries it went up by a few $100, in other countries it went up by the thousands. In my home country in Germany, this is especially bad. Here the middle class is completely priced out of doing any kind of license, car or motorbike. Licenses start at around $3,500 and can go up all the way to 5,800 or 6,000 euros. This actually is a development of still recent time. There was about of a 1 to 2 year window where it was affordable for people in Generation Z to do a motorcycle license or a car license. I was so lucky that I did that. Most people I know most likely never will do a license because they simply cannot afford it, and that train is kind of gone. With the increased price of getting into motorcycle riding, of course motorcycle riding nowadays is a lot more catered to older people. I was last year at the EICMA motorcycle convention, and the amount of new retro liveries and new retro bikes like the Yamaha XSR GP 900 and the new CF Moto 500 4-cylinder bike, they're beautiful retro bikes, but for many people my age, there's no reference point to why they're even retro. I mean, we could now talk forever about financial reasons why Gen Z does not pick up motorcycle riding and young people in general. But that's boring. So I think another reason that's pretty big and is often overlooked is with motorcycle riding being a male-dominated activity, basically, mostly men do this, is video games. Oh god, I now sound like one of those terrible anti-video game activist lawyers in the early 2000s.
All you're focusing on right now is gun control. What about the violence in our video games?
And even though I don't think that ranking up a virtual death count that would make my German ancestry blush is necessarily bad for you, I think the feeling of constant achievement can be hurtful to many young people, and with men especially enjoying video games and motorbike riding, you have a lot of potential motorcycle riders rotting away in front of their screens. And to a degree, I kind of get it. You have amazing virtual worlds. You can be like, I don't know, fighting zombies as a virtual biker in America and all that kind of stuff. And it's all very easy. And compared to motorcycle riding or any real life activity, of course, the learning curve is a lot less frustrating and not as steep. Also, something to really point out here, I, as someone who is born in 2000 myself, I kind of am the exception to the rule, but at the same time I confirm the rule, because all these factors I was affected by as well. And if I look back, the only reason why I am now riding motorcycles is basically a lucky storm of coincidences. I picked up my interest in riding motorcycles right at the perfect time when doing a motorcycle license was still like $1,400. My upgrade to the big motorcycle license with just 1 hour and the test was already $1,000. So basically my little upgrade cost me more than 2/3 of my original license, which is insane. Also, my whole entry cost into the hobby was $2,100 for license, motorcycle, an old Yamaha FCR for $600, and gear I got for free from eBay. Also, I've not been riding motorcycles for more than $600. The first 2 years of me having a motorcycle license. And the only reason I then upgraded to an Interceptor for $4,500 because I also saw it as an investment into my YouTube channel. And the amount of times I considered actually selling the bike when things got tight is actually astonishing. So this is how the situation kind of looks for people who are younger who want to pick up motorcycle riding. I also got affected by the other reasons that I named, but luckily, coincidentally, I had a very hands-off approach with parenting when it came to my parents. And also, I didn't have to drown out the noise of a divorce with video games because my parents are still together. Also, my parents were very anti-motorcycles, how basically all parents who don't ride themselves are. But the thing is, there was no stopping me anymore. I already experienced what riding a motorcycle was like before I did my license, because while I was on vacation, I had a bet with a friend that I could charm my way into riding a motorcycle and renting a bike. So I already did over 1,000 kilometers in the saddle before even doing my license, so I was pretty much already hooked. Is all hope for motorcycle riding lost? First of all, a reason why I don't believe that is the money that people cannot spend on a house anymore needs to go somewhere, and that might as well be a motorcycle. Also, if motorcycle riding dies a little bit more, it could become like a very niche alternative lifestyle again. We already saw that with the whole hipster cult around cafe racers, but that was kind of stopped by those bikes being expensive, you needing to be an expert craftsman to build a bike like that. If that would have went better, we maybe already would see a rise in motorcycle riders. Also, I think one thing that can really then happen if motorcycle riding dies a little bit more is that the interest really picks up, similarly to how people had the same experience with surfing. Surfing was kind of a more niche thing. You had a few people in the water, and now you have thousands of people in the water, and people even saying that the Mediterranean is surfable, and it has become a huge part of mainstream culture for many people. Also, I think there's huge potential actually in approaching different demographics when it comes to riding motorcycles. Like I already said, motorcycle riding is pretty male dominated, and 50% of the planet is women, and they like riding motorcycles just as much. Just not that many of them are riding motorcycles yet. And I think there's a huge potential in the female demographic when it comes to riding motorcycles. And at that point, welcome to my female viewers, because my female viewership increased from 0.3% to all the way to 5% in the last 5 months. So welcome to the channel, and it's on you to save motorcycle riding. Also, we are seeing more and more bikes in an actually more affordable price range, like from Royal Enfield and especially from the Chinese market. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I would gladly appreciate you guys subscribing and ringing the notification bell and seeing you guys in the next video.